let me get to Steve Palazzolo. Once we figured out how to pronounce his name, we love to have him on. Co-host of Pro Football Focus NFL podcast. Do you want to jump in on any of those topics we've already had?
Well, I mean, the Brady Bledsoe thing, I mean, clearly that's the most impactful injury. I think the blind side's overrated because when the quarterback looks to his left, his blind side's protected by the right tackle. So I think it's overrated. And then Brissett should have some success this weekend because the Miami's got some good playmakers, but their offensive line is rough. So I would go Justin Fields there.
And once again, what you offer, what Pro Football Focus offers is not opinions. It's all numbers based.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. I mean, there's interpretation. Anytime you get a number, there's interpretation, there's context. But yeah, it's quantified film study is what we do. That's how we come up with our grades.
All right. Tom Brady versus the Rams defense. You have two of the top 5 defenders in the game, I'm guessing. Maybe the best at their individual positions, and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. How does Tom Brady and the Buccaneers attack the Rams this weekend?
It's a tough one. I mean, it's going to look a lot different than what the Bucs faced the first 2 weeks against the Cowboys and the Falcons. The Rams defense, my big question coming in was they lose Brandon Staley, who was really forward thinking and taking away the deep ball and playing the pass before the run and all these different things that he did last year. And they're carrying that over. Jalen Ramsey's playing. Remember late career Charles Woodson when he was out there kind of playing a little linebacker and in the slot. I mean, that's how Jalen Ramsey's playing, in and around the line of scrimmage, blowing things up. So the Bucs have to spread them out, be patient in the underneath game, but the Rams match up really well. And they gave the Bucs trouble last year on Monday Night Football. That was one of the few games where the Bucs offense was not very good. So it's a great matchup. Antonio Brown might be out, but the Bucs look like right now when all those guys are out there, all those receivers and Gronk and Cameron Brate, those tight ends, really tough to cover because Brady just goes, who's the open man this week? So I think it'll be a good the Rams will do the best job against the Bucs offense. The Bucs will still find a way to score some points though.
More likely to happen, Ramsey gets an interception from Brady or Aaron Donald sacks Brady?
Oh, definitely go Aaron Donald sack. I mean, he wins, about 20-25% of his pass rushes, which is incredible for an interior defensive lineman. Most guys are at 10, 12, maybe 15. So he's got a much better shot, I think, of getting a sack. And Brady's smart. He doesn't have to throw at Jalen Ramsey. He can avoid him if needed.
Chargers and the Chiefs. I've mentioned this a couple of times. It feels like if you're going to beat the Chiefs, at least in the AFC, got to be able to run the football. Baltimore can run it. Cleveland can run it. Who else am I leaving? The Titans can run it. Can the Chargers run it? Is that the approach to beat the Chiefs if you were the Chargers?
I think it depends on the type of team you have. I think if you are the Ravens or the Browns, and that is one of your strengths, that's a piece. I think what the Chargers have showed is they could put the ball in Justin Herbert's hands, and they haven't scored a ton of points, but he's been pretty efficient. Couple mistakes against the Cowboys, but he's really good in that Washington game in week 1, had all those third down conversions. I think you have to score points against the Chiefs. That's the key. What the Browns did in week 1 is they maximized every opportunity, 4th and 3, and instead of kicking a field goal, they're going for it. You have to say, I have to score 30 and then hope that we can keep them to under 30. And, the Ravens pretty much did that, right? So I think you got to score as many points as possible. And from the Chargers standpoint, that's Justin Herbert throwing to Keenan Allen, throwing to Mike Williams, and then figuring out how Austin Eckler is a part of the run game and catching the ball out of the backfield.
Have you graded out Justin Herbert and Matthew Stafford the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, Stafford's one of our highest graded quarterbacks. Herbert, he's 11th right now in our grades, was Stafford's 3rd. So Stafford has been a little bit better than his career baseline and probably shown, hey, look, this Rams offense is a nice little mesh with his skill set, and they've tapped into the downfield passing attack a little bit more with the Rams.
What's the grade for Jimmy Garoppolo so far?
He's one of those guys. One of my favorite things to do is to take PFF passing grade and compare it to, say, passer rating or yards per your traditional stats. And Garoppolo is, let's see where he ranks. He's down there. Oh, gosh, where is he? He's too low. 24th. He's 24th in our grades. Passer rating, he's top 10. So when you see guys that are lower in our numbers, higher in passer rating or traditional stats, you generally attribute that to luck or Kyle Shanahan being great, the playmakers being great, Deebo Samuel catching a jump ball and running 70 yards for a touchdown. So that's been the Garoppolo story. He missed a lot of throws in that Eagles game and was one of the reasons why they only scored 17 points, even though they won.
But what are you factoring in that the QBR is not factoring in?
So we're looking at the quality of every single throw. So again, if if Garoppolo throws a jump ball and it legitimately should be tipped away or whatever it is, and the receiver wins at the catch point, and then especially if the receiver wins at the catch point and then runs another 50 yards for a touchdown, that's a whole bunch of credit that's going to the quarterback that he didn't really earn. Mahomes is really a good example on Sunday Night Football. He had 2 touchdowns where it was Travis Kelce running through the entire Ravens defense. It was a decent throw. He threw it to him, but this is Kelce as he's running, earning him passer rating points and stuff, right? And Byron Pringle did the same thing on a 40-yard run. So the other piece is if you make a bad throw it right to a defender, we're giving you a big downgrade, even if the defender drops it and it's only 0 for 1. So it's just adding the context to each play and the QB's actual contribution.
Steve Palazzolo, he's the co-host of Pro Football Focus NFL podcast. Did the media overreact to the first week with Aaron Rodgers, or did they overreact more so to the second week performance against the Lions?
Probably to the first week. I mean, Rodgers has had games like that before. They just didn't happen in week 1, right? It happened last year in week 6 against the Bucs. It happened at other times. Every time he had a PFF grade under 50 since 2016, which he had in week 1. It was terrible. And under 50 is pretty bad in our system. Every time he's bounced back with 4 touchdowns, exactly 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. This is the 4th straight time he's done it now. So people could have looked at history and said, look, Aaron Rodgers has had bad games before. This happened to be in week 1. It doesn't mean that Jeopardy did it, and he'll probably bounce back. He's facing the Lions, and it was 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, and he played better. So I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be okay. So relax again.
I think we're going to learn more about the Packers and Aaron Rodgers this week than we did last week. You're playing at home against the Lions. So I was not surprised. I was surprised the Lions were going toe-to-toe with them in the first half. I thought there was a huge third down toss to Devontae Adams in the third quarter that it kind of propelled the Packers there, but I'm not surprised at all. Let's look at rookie quarterbacks. Is anybody actually having a better season than we think with these rookie quarterbacks aside from Mac Jones?
Not really. I mean, I had high expectations, not astronomical expectations for Trevor Lawrence, but he's been disappointing so far. He's got the highest percentage of uncatchable passes in the NFL this year by a pretty significant margin. He's not playing with great timing.
What's uncatchable?
Just straight up an overthrow, an underthrow in front behind the receiver doesn't have a chance to haul it in.
Okay.
There's bang bang catches or opportunities, but he's just flat missing far more than he should be. And then Zach Wilson, all those interceptions against the Patriots, not all his fault, but his mechanics are all over the place. He's fading away. He's not stepping into throws. Things he probably got away with in college, he's learning he can't. So that hasn't been great so far. And Mac Jones has been the most efficient. He's been probably the safest as far as game plan goes and throwing the underneath stuff. But his week 1 game against the Dolphins was really impressive. Plays under pressure, his accuracy. So yeah, Mac Jones, I think, has been the clear guy. He hasn't dominated, but not making as many mistakes as the other guys.
Now you have Justin Fields coming in for the Bears. Assess the Bears' offensive line. Where does that rank talent-wise?
The tackles are playing okay right now. As far as pass protection goes, they've got Jason Peters at left tackle. He's almost 40, but he's still pretty good. Jermaine Ifedi's been okay as a pass blocker at right tackle. Historically, he's not great there. The interior's gotten beat up, so there's going to be some pressure up front. And the quarterback affects pressure rate because when a QB holds the ball, it puts more pressure on the offensive line, even if he's juking out of a sack. So that's what's going to be interesting to see. Andy Dalton generally gets rid of the ball faster than most quarterbacks in the NFL. He's top 5 getting rid of it. Justin Fields so far preseason and last week likes to hold it, let things develop, scramble out a little bit. So there'll be a lot of pressure on an offensive line that's definitely in the, bottom 8 or 10, I think, in the NFL right now.
Do you guys grade careers?
We do.
You do?
Yeah.
Is Devin Hester a Hall of Famer?
Now that's a tricky one because special teams, it's its own animal. I do think, when you're looking at the Hall of Fame, if you've completely changed the game, and Cordero Patterson's going to have an interesting argument that's Hester-like, right? I mean, those guys were game changers. You're afraid to kick them the ball. I think Hester is. I think Patterson probably is because they were so good at taking it to the house, which is a very rare thing.
Wait, you think Cordero Patterson is a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, he's the best kickoff returner of all time. In a time when that part of the game is getting de-emphasized, when kickers can just kick it through the end zone and get a touchback if they want. and Patterson's still extremely dangerous. I mean, the Bucs were, dribbling it at him last week because they were so afraid of him.
He was an All-Pro 4 times. Phillip Rivers, Hall of Famer?
The more I think about it, I'm starting to lean no on both Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning, just because I think the era thing matters. You were mentioning an era, right? How do you compare? Was Phillip Rivers a top 5 quarterback in his era? Yeah, a couple seasons he was, but overall he's top 8 type of guy. You're in the era with Brady, Breeze, Peyton, with Aaron Rodgers, with Russell Wilson, Big Ben. It is tough to say this guy is an elite player in his era. So I'm starting to lean the playoffs are going to work against Rivers in this argument, even though the stats and generally he was really good. But I'm starting to lean no, I think, for Rivers.
Why no for Eli?
I mean, he was an average, slightly above average NFL quarterback. I say that with a ton of respect. That's a tough thing to do. Who had the 2 Super Bowl runs. I think he'll get in. I think people are going to buy into that. But they also didn't make the playoffs a lot. And it was in years where Eli was a bottom 3rd quarterback, right? So there wasn't the continued sustained success where he was a top 8 guy consistently. He had a couple quick peaks. And they were nice peaks. The Giants will take it, but I just don't know if you put that in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but I go back to Joe Namath. Joe Namath won 1 game, and you can say it might be the most important game in NFL history because it helped spring the merger. But he threw more interceptions than touchdowns. He had one unbelievable moment, but, his defense was brilliant that day. They gave up 7 points to the Colts in Super Bowl III. Why is Joe Namath in the Hall of Fame?
It's because people like the feels, right? It's the feeling. And it's a tough for someone like me that works with numbers so much because I want to say, okay, here's the whole body of work. But I get it. The Hall of Fame is about moments and, playoff success and, helmet catches and things like that Eli has. And look, the Mario Manningham cover 2 shot against the Patriots in 2011 is one of the best throws in NFL history. Forget the helmet thing. That was kind of a jump ball. I mean, putting the ball in Manningham's hands wins the game for the Giants. So I could talk myself into it, but I generally lean toward the full body of work. Am I watching a Hall of Famer? I don't know if anybody got that vibe when watching Eli Manning.
Always great to talk to you, Steve. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Steve Palazzolo, he makes us smarter, co-host of Pro Football Focus NFL podcast.